This video and all other videos on this channel are for entertainment purposes only. The content of this video and all other videos on this channel are the opinions of the creator only and do not constitute legal, trading, investment, or financial advice of any kind. Investing carries a high level of risk and the majority of retail clients lose money. Do not invest any capital unless you understand the risks and you are prepared to lose it all. Right, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel, and today what I want to mostly do is spend the majority of the time going through Bitcoin, its current daily cycle, all the possible implications and scenarios based on the cycle, whether we got a failed cycle or not, what to do if you think you've been stopped out unfairly, because I can see that a lot of people are quite frustrated with the current price action. And look, I totally understand, okay? And a lot of people seem to be frustrated because they feel like they don't know what to do, or they feel like they were stop hunted, or the market has manipulated you and now you're out and sidelined and you don't know if you should jump back in and all of this kind of thing. So I want to spend 90% of today showing you everything I can see based on cycle theory about Bitcoin and give you all the possible options so that hopefully at the end of today's episode, you'll understand there's a bunch of scenarios. You can pick the one that you think is most suitable for you and then make your own decision and figure out what to do going forward. There are plenty of options. They're all very different and they'll all be unique to each of us as to which one is best suited for us. As a quick announcement, at 12:30 GMT today, I'm going to be doing another members only live stream. So if you're a member of any level, come and join us at 12:30. Today's episode, I want to spend just a quick moment pointing at the stock market because cycles are doing cycle things there. So I want to use the stock market to illustrate that point that nothing is really out of the ordinary. Then, as I said, we'll do a deep dive on Bitcoin and how to trade it at the moment, whether you're in, whether you're out, whether you just got stopped. I'll go through every possible scenario I can think of and hopefully give you the tools you need to make the best decision for you. And then, as always, we'll spend a little bit of time at the end and just run through the other charts that we normally cover on this channel. So first of all, this video from yours truly was posted 1 week ago, and I just want to play you a quick clip to show you nothing has really changed, right? Everything I was talking about last week is actually playing out. Into the charts, as I said earlier on in the episode, we have, as of today, got day 16. Now, it's funny that the half cycle low on day 20 is due to form somewhere between Friday and Tuesday next week. So I think it's only reasonable to expect any kind of volatility here to resolve slightly lower into the end of the week. But just keep in mind, the cycles give us that little piece of alpha here to say that that's normal and to be expected into a half cycle low. And then going into next week, so long as we can resume the uptrend, punch through all-time highs, happy days. But go into next week and start to see more and more downside, start to head down towards that cycle low failure, then we know that this indeed was just a counter trend rally, a lower high, and it's time to start to target new lows. So that's the beauty of cycles. We get to let them guide us. We don't have to worry too much. We don't have to do too much in the meantime. Just be aware that the half cycle low is due towards the end of the week, if not early next week. And thus, we can kind of say with a high degree of confidence that any kind of downside here is normal and to be expected into the end of the week and out of FOMC. So there you go. I was making the same case all through last week that nothing matters. Not the news, not missiles, not FOMC, not anything, okay? All that really matters is that you understand the rules of cycle theory and then the rest can be discarded. We can just use the cycles to guide us, as I was saying. Fast forward to today with the benefit of hindsight, that's exactly what we got. And it's not uncommon to see this, right? Half cycle low, no matter what happened FOMC, no matter whether we saw big red or big green candles, we knew the cycle was down to that half cycle low window around day 20. It happened to form on Monday, as I said, anywhere between Friday and Tuesday. And from there, we get to let the market reveal what it wants to do. If it wants to right translate, then that's bullish implications for the next few weeks. And if it was going to counter trend bounce here, roll over, confirm a left translation and start to head towards cycle failure, then again, we know because the cycle rules tell us that we could have been bearish biased, okay? So right here, this is a perfect and textbook example of cycles doing cycle things. Now, of course, for Bitcoin, the story is a little bit different, and that's why I want to spend the rest of today's episode really honing in on Bitcoin and trying to give you every tool that you could possibly need to know how to deal with Bitcoin over the coming days and weeks. So the first point I want to make, but it's super important, okay, is don't be a tape slave. Okay, what does that mean? It means don't be a slave to the tape. It means don't allow one candle, whether it's red, green, even 2 or 3 candles, to make you have any kind of knee-jerk reaction, okay? Unless you're a day trader, unless your strategy is built around 15-minute or 5-minute or 1-hour candles, then you have no business getting wound up in a single day, okay? No matter what price action happens, particularly with Bitcoin that likes to make big moves and reverse the entire thing the following day, you have no business being concerned by a day 2, even 3 days price action. So do not be a slave to the tape. Don't be a tape slave. Don't allow one single red candle to make you emotional or make you angry or make you flip from bullish to bearish, okay? It takes a long time to build structure on a chart. It takes a long time to change a trend. There's never any rush. So tip number 1, okay? Relax. Everything's going to be okay. And I say it every day, but for some reason, many people miss it, okay? One day at a time. The next thing to do, and this is really important, okay, is go and learn cycles so that you know what to do without me having to make these videos. I'm happy to make this video today. I'm happy to make more like it in the future. But if you think about that old analogy of give a man a fish and he'll eat, or teach a man to fish and he'll eat forever, I'm sure I butchered that, as I often do with these silly analogies and sayings. The point is, okay, I have done everything I can to make cycle trading available to everyone. There is a tutorial playlist for free. There is a PDF that I will tag down here now, which contains everything I know about cycle trading. You can sign up to camelfinance.co.uk, try it for 2 weeks for free, play around with the indicator, and there is a ton of free material on there that contains everything I know about cycles in even more detail. So there is no excuse. And it's not like this is an ultra complex system like Elliott waves, okay? You can just go to the tutorial playlist, watch a 17-minute video, and so long as you're good at absorbing knowledge, in 17 minutes, you should know exactly what these cycles imply. You should know all of the possible scenarios going forward. So that's the first thing. Don't allow these knee-jerk reactions to influence your emotions and your trading, and also learn the rules so you actually know what's going on. Now, let's talk about this failed cycle or fake out failed cycle. Ordinarily, when we have a cycle low, okay, all the while we trade above it, then we say the cycle has not failed. But the moment we come down and undercut that low, that is what's known as a failed cycle. Now, the moment a cycle fails, it tells us that on a balance of probabilities, the most probabilistic outcome is that the upcoming cycle low will form below the prior cycle low. So the next thing to ask yourself is, what constitutes a failed daily cycle? Is it a wick or is it a close below? Now, I like to use a close below as my defining characteristic. So on a closing basis, okay, Sunday's candle on my preferred exchange and my preferred ticker closed below the close of this right here, but not below the ultimate low. So this is a very, very mixed signal. I would like to see the close below the absolute lowest low on the day. It's actually up to you which one you want to pick. You can use wicks to classify failed cycles. You can use candle closes. It's entirely up to you. But as you can see right here, okay, don't be a slave to the tape, because this entire move was reversed the following day. So therefore, any kind of emotions that were triggered on one daily candle was simply unnecessary. And it was very true here as well. Big red spill, lots of people turn bearish, daily cycle low, off we go. So is this a failed cycle, or is it something that is highly nuanced to Bitcoin, known as the fake out failed cycle? Now, the short answer is it's impossible to know because it's too early, okay? If what we see coming forward is this thing move over and ultimately trade lower into the upcoming cycle low, below this prior cycle low, then this would be, of course, a failed cycle, and cycle theory tells us that's normal and to be expected. Where it gets slightly more complicated is Bitcoin has this characteristic that I have never seen on any other asset class, known as the fake out failed cycle. To show you just what this looks like, okay, here's a prime example. We get a cycle low and we can draw a line underneath it, okay? Then we get a quick fake out below, we trade forward, okay, consolidation cycle, timing based low here, and then the next cycle begins, and of course the price action moves higher. Now let's be really clear, this is unique to Bitcoin, okay? I have never seen another asset class produce a cycle low, come down and fail the cycle, only to resolve to a higher low and move higher. I've never seen that happen. Whenever I've seen a cycle low followed by a failed cycle, whether it's on a wick or a closing basis, whether it reverses immediately the next day, I always see them move lower into the upcoming cycle low in accordance with what is expected in cycle theory. So it is only Bitcoin that throws this weird, jank, fake out failed cycle. And here is another example of that, okay? We get a cycle low, we get a fake out failed cycle, and then we get a timing based slightly higher low, and off it goes into the new cycle. Again, highly unusual for everything other than Bitcoin, but Bitcoin has shown us a few of these now. This has made me think that we have got some kind of BlackRock type deal going on here. I think this is cycles doing BlackRock things as it pertains to Bitcoin. That's conjecture, right? I don't know for sure. But then when we come back to the hard right edge, it begs the question, doesn't it? Which of these two do we have in play? Do we have a failed cycle, which is ultimately going to resolve to a lower low into the next upcoming cycle? Or is this going to be yet another one of those weird, nuanced Bitcoin doing BlackRock things where we get something akin to this, higher low, timing based low, and off we go. And once more, this would be another fake out failed cycle. And the answer is, We don't know, okay? You have to be okay in markets with saying, okay, there are two possible scenarios and I don't know which one it is. There is no possible way of knowing which one of these will play out until we get a little bit later in life. Again, it feeds back to what I was saying earlier. Don't be a slave to the tape and take this thing one day at a time. So I understand that based on what I've seen in the members section and interacting with the members, approximately half the people that I have interacted with got stopped out. It depends what exchange you were using. It depends whether you're using stable coin pairs. It depends whether you're using futures or spread betting. Some people set narrower stops, some people set wider stops. Obviously, all these factors play into it. But from my observation and interaction with the members, it seems approximately half of the people were taken out, they feel unfairly, at this current moment in time. Now, of course, if that is the low, that is a fake out failed cycle, and we're going to move sideways and trade higher, then a lot of people will feel like they were taken out unfairly. But just keep in mind, right now, it's too early to tell. This could just as easily morph into a truly failed cycle, okay, get a lower low, in which case, I think the people that have been stopped out here will not be too concerned after all. If this is what ends up playing out, I also will, of course, be stopped out as well. Armed with this knowledge that there are two possible scenarios here. Either we are going to move to a new lower low, or the low is in and we're going to go sideways and then higher. You can now decide for yourself which one of these you want to position for. Do you want to say, okay, I'm going to bet that that's a fake out failed cycle. I'm going to go long here. I'm going to put a stop below this low, knowing that if it's a fake out failed cycle, we have no business coming back there again, and then move the target price higher. This is one possible option. Now, it's not for everyone. Okay, some people would not want to stop this wide. Some people would not want to size their position down so that the risk is still managed. And that's entirely fine. That's entirely your prerogative. Another option would be to say, I'm just going to play patient. I'm just going to wait for one of two scenarios. Either we trade lower into a cycle low and we go long out of there, or we trade sideways into a cycle low and we go long out of there. Okay, that's another option. You can either play this from in here, something like this, or if we get a lower low, you can play the cycle low from down here, okay? Entirely up to you. But keep in mind, okay, while some people will be sat here going, well, great, Camel, like, how does that help, right? How do we know? Well, this is what all trading is like. You never know, right? It's about taking a probabilistic outcome, managing the risk, and deciding what's right for you. Some people will be more than happy to hop back in here with a nice wide stop and a slightly smaller position and just let the thing do what it's going to do. Other people will have already FOMO'd back in here, probably have no stop loss, probably going to get liquidated if this thing rolls over one more time, right? That's not how you want to do it. And some people will have absolutely no problem at all waiting until around the 5th or the 6th of August and then getting long from there regardless of what level it's at. But to say that anyone can say for sure right here is peak delusion, right? There's no way anyone can tell whether or not this is going to be a fake out or resolve to a lower low. But of course, as always, the cycles tell us what this implies, okay? So hopefully by now you know what this implies. It implies one of two things. Ordinarily in an asset class, a move below the prior low would indicate that the upcoming cycle low will be below this low. Okay, but we also happen to know Bitcoin is a little bit of a problem child. Bitcoin is doing BlackRock things now instead of cycle things, and therefore we know that it could imply that the low is already in and we're going to produce a higher low here and move higher. Not like in what I'm seeing there. Okay, focus, Camel. So as a quick recap, okay, don't be a slave. Don't react with emotion. Learn the rules so you know exactly what this implies, and hopefully by now, whether you learnt the rules or not, you can see that there are basically two possible outcomes here, and it's simply too early to tell at this current moment in time. I think I've already spoken on people being stopped out. I know, like I said earlier, approximately half of the people I've interacted with feel like they were unfairly taken out, but keep in mind, if we do produce a lower low, then we're all going to get taken out, right? So maybe you weren't unfairly taken out. The other half of the people that are in seem pretty confident and comfortable for now and are leaning on this fake out idea. But remember, we're all just as vulnerable as each other. There's nothing to say that that's a fake out failed cycle. It could easily be a true failed cycle that's about to resolve lower. I think one hint from the market would be if we can get above this trend line here. Okay, so we'll reset this to here. If we can trade and break out above there, I would say there's a good chance that that is the low and it was a fake out failed cycle, which also gives you another opportunity to structure a trade, not from a cycle perspective, but from some kind of breakout trade. Not sure if that's for me, but it is another possibility. And also, if you were stopped out and you feel like it's unfair, just remember, okay, this is part of the game. It happens to all of us. In fact, it happened to me back here. I got stopped out on this lower low, which by the way looked like a fake out failed cycle. So we were long from the cycle low in here, something like this with the stop below the low. We just missed the stop out here, and we were thinking, okay, maybe this is a fake out failed cycle. Then it ran my stop, half cycle low inversion, and then it shot up, okay? And whilst we managed to capture this in the level 3 member section via MicroStrategy and a couple of other crypto stocks, whilst I still have all my spot Bitcoin and I didn't puke some of my position at the lows, from a trading perspective, okay, I got violated here and then missed out on this big pump. Okay, so it happens to all of us sometimes, and therefore there's nothing to say it's not going to happen to me again here, okay? You can't take this stuff personally. This is just part of the game. Sometimes you get stopped out right before a big move unfolds. Remember, in trading, the simple rule is, as long as the risk is managed, it doesn't really matter. If you're going to place a trade, whether it's here, whether it is from a trend line breakout, whether it's from the upcoming cycle low in early August, okay, it doesn't really matter. So long as if you are wrong, your risk is managed. If you're going to use a wider stop, then you need to size the position down so that you're still not blowing chunks out of your account. Again, going back to studying and learning the rules, okay, there's a tutorial on risk management in that same playlist where the cycle trading one is, so you could go and watch that. There's also one on how to correctly apply leverage. And the key part of all of this, okay, is to make sure you make your own decision, because what's right for me or some of us may not be right for others. In the meantime, the biggest thing to understand is that it doesn't matter who's firing missiles at who, it doesn't matter which people of power are saying things, it doesn't matter which account is calling for which scenario or setup, okay? None of that matters because nobody knows, right? So let's just keep taking this thing one day at a time. Let's not be a slave to the tape. Let's continue to let the cycles guide us. And within a few days, we're going to have an answer, right? Maybe a little bit more than a few days. If this thing, for example, rejects a resistance and starts to immediately head down and stop people out, then we can say with near certainty that we're getting a lower low, okay, and then we're going to go back to the drawing board and play that cycle low from lower down. If what we see from here is kind of this like breakout, retest, lackluster resumption, something like this, then by the time we get to the middle of July, we can say with a very high degree of confidence that that is the low. Okay, and therefore any kind of swing or timing-based low to show up will be higher than this one as well, most likely, and thus it should finally be time to get that final move into the big blow off top. And of course, we can also look for subtle tells from the market, right? Things like Coinbase, look at this, leading, okay, shooting up. The level 3 members know we're getting ready to dump this at new highs. MicroStrategy, thinking about breaking out after a double bottom with a cycle low, okay? That's also bullish. We've got some other positions like Riot that have completed breakout, retest, and resumption of the confirmed cycle low breakout level. So this should start to really fire off now as well. And so if we can start to see these crypto stocks pushing up, it seems entirely possible to me that the market is going to give us enough hints, especially if we can get that breakout and a grind, like I said. All of this would be conducive to us saying, okay, we now know on a balance of probabilities, according to the rules of cycle theory, that probably was a fake out failed cycle, not a true failed cycle, and thus the low will come higher up. You see? So the beauty of this, and the thing I'm trying to illustrate, is nothing matters apart from the cycles. As long as you know the system, as long as you understand the rules deeply enough that you can put your trust and faith in these cycles, you can use them to guide us. But so far, I think it's just a case of sitting back and seeing what the market will give, taking it one day at a time. I know I say this stuff every day, but there's a reason I say it every day, right? You have to get used to being able to do that, just like we did during the stock market, okay? Nobody knew. In fact, unlike most people that are perma bullish, right? You have to keep in mind when it comes to the stock market, I had already called the top back here. I went flat. Okay, we tried to give this market some space. We tried to play one or two long trades on the way down. They got stopped out. And then I was saying, okay, fine, right? We have to pretty much call the top here. We've had 3 angles, we've had failed daily cycles. This is really not a good look. And so all through here, even though we did some dip buying in the longer term accounts, I was maintaining a bearish bias here. I was saying we have to be on guard for a lower high and a rollover, because if it's going to do it, this is kind of like the sweet spot for that to happen. You get a left translated cycle, you'd get a failure and a stop out, a failed daily cycle, and that would ultimately confirm that this was just a lower high bounce and we're in a bear market. Now, the whole time I've been very clear that I wanted to be long here in case I was wrong. I would rather be long and wrong, okay, making money whilst being invalidated on the top call. I'd much rather that than just be dogmatic and short in here if we're going to have a big blow off top to new highs, right? So it's always a case of letting the cycles guide us. Okay, it was malpractice to be bearish until we get a failed cycle, as you can see. Okay, so it's lucky I'm not just rage short in this or being dogmatic here. It's lucky I can hold 2 opposing views in my mind at the same time. It's lucky I can be bearish biased under the hood, but also allowing the cycles and the charts to guide me, and therefore continue to catch the move once momentum is truly returned. Even though we missed this from the short-term accounts because it was a half cycle low inversion, and I tend to not catch many of those half cycle low inversions, we did still manage to be contrarian enough to add a bunch of stuff in the members section in the longer term accounts. So we've more than benefited from this move in both the long term and the short term accounts. And even though under the hood I'm still kind of thinking, oh man, this could very easily morph into something bearish, right? Look at my positioning, it's long. And I want to point this out whilst we're here, okay? Because despite all the negative sentiment, all the missiles, all of the BS, frankly, that is going on in the world, when we look where it matters, which is markets, the VIX is on its way to our long-term target, right? The VIX does not believe any of the news, doesn't believe any of the fear, doesn't believe any of the FUD headlines. You know what else doesn't believe it? Oil, right? Again, called every single one of these pops a fake out that would resolve lower. That's exactly what we got here. Granted, it went slightly higher, I'd say about $5 higher than I thought it would, as a result of, people firing missiles at each other. But ultimately, okay, that is another breakout that many people were looking to long, that I said, no, oil's going to continue lower, okay? And why am I pointing at this? Not to say I was right, because I could easily be wrong, could easily turn around and break out, but because the market doesn't care about the narrative, right? All of that narrative is just that. It is narrative. It doesn't mean anything. The VIX won't spike. Oil's not truly breaking out. Even gold is not exploding, right? Now, granted, it is working on a daily cycle low in here. It's soon to find one. I think it needs a couple more days and then it's going to blast off. But again, the market doesn't care, right? Stocks up, gold down, oil down, VIX down. So where is the justification for sticking to any kind of bearish narrative or being dogmatic here? Okay, if the market doesn't care, we shouldn't either. And as ever, we'll just continue to take this one day at a time. So stocks doing cycle things, right? Happy days, got that cycle low, got the half cycle low bounce, off it goes, long and strong, okay? The moment we close above all-time highs, we can start to say, okay, the top call was invalidated. We can keep hold of the long-term account positions. We can continue to trade this thing to the long side, and then we'll set another third and final blow off top angle, just like we did about 3 other times during this rally, and we'll use that to sell into at the next local top, just like we've done in every other top. Happy days, okay? I'm not a savant. I'm disciplined enough to learn the rules of cycle theory and stick to them. For gold, as I said, we're about to find a daily cycle low any day now. We're slightly late for this window, but that's fine. Just needs a few more days to reset some oscillators, I think, and then we'll get a nice big bounce. The miners and silver, we're going to talk about that with the members as well, but I see plenty of opportunity coming there if we can just wait probably till the end of the week. Also, we are continuing to tell that to the bond market, as you can see right here. Yields coming off, US 2-year coming off as well, okay? Rejecting at resistance, on its way to forcing a Fed cut. Happy days. Again, how much of this is really new? I've been saying the same things over and over and over again, and whilst we've had some wobbles, because we're not tape slaves, okay, we just keep taking it one day at a time, everything is still, roughly speaking, going according to plan. So I know it can feel a bit rough out there, but remember, if you can just manage risk and just stick to the cycle system, I think everything's going to be okay. So I hope this cleared things up for the people that were confused. I know there's a lot of frustrated people out there. I know there's a lot of confused people out there at the moment. As I said earlier, if you're a member of any level, please tune into the Q&A live stream at 12:30 GMT. And other than that, I'll be back tomorrow, right? We'll continue to do what the Camel Crew does best. Until then, stay positive. Lots of love. Cheers. Bye.
Camel Finance, he's the man to see. Rocking the markets with his contrarian spree. Trades like a pro, no fear, no shame. Sticking to his guns in his money game. He's a badass, oh yes indeed. Camel